Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping Orange County. With your host, Don Camber.
Hello, live from the OC Talk Radio studios at UCI's Beal Applied Innovation Center. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Don Camber with another great guest impacting our community in a positive way. Today I welcome Vital Link of Orange County President Brian Dozer. Established in 1995, the college and career exploration nonprofit seeks to inspire students to explore and experience career pathways in order to secure their future. Recently, Brian rode a bike over 200 miles in Orange County to raise $20,000 to bring awareness to career technical education, which provides students with a pathway to post-secondary education and careers. Thank you, Brian, for being on Impact OC.
Thank you very much for having me, Don. I'm very happy to be here.
Brian, please explain why you're so passionate about the organization's mission and how you're able to achieve its goals.
So, I came through the traditional path, into a four-year university, and my parents had that expectation of all of us that we would go into a four-year program. And while it was a wonderful experience, what's happened over time is that that four-year education pathway has become not as attainable to everyone. When I was in college, when my parents were in college, the four-year tuition was a lot less than it is now. And so over time, what's happened is we have to find other pathways for students. So while I was working for a four-year, I was introduced to Vital Link and the programs that Vital Link had, and I just really fell in love with those types of programs and what the mission of Vital Link was. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to spend the rest of my career focused on helping introduce students to college and career pathways into what we call these middle skills jobs.
What are the student demographics?
So the student demographics that we work with are primarily high school students, although we do work with some community college and even some middle school students. In terms of other demographics, gender splits or, any, race or anything like that, it just depends on the school district. Every school district is going to be a little bit different. But most of our programs are targeted primarily at high school students. But as I said, sometimes we have some programs that we work with middle school and college students.
And explain the need for programs.
So, our school districts have too few counselors for the number of students. I think pretty much everyone realizes that is an issue at a lot of our school districts. And so, while Vital Link doesn't create curriculum or develop the actual classes that are going on inside the schools, or sign the or architect the articulation agreements between the colleges and the high schools, what we do is we actually help students find these pathways. So one of the things that I like to say is there are these pathways in a high school. So a student can start taking a class as young as freshman in a pathway, say for automotive technology, and they can take those classes and then continue them into college. So that is a pathway. We don't create the pathways. What we do, that I like to say, is we create the on-ramp to the pathways. So essentially what Vital Link is doing, and it's not a service that a lot of other organizations are doing, especially across all of Orange County like Vital Link, is creating events and programs to help introduce students to those careers that are out there, and then also introduce them to the college experiences or the classes or the certificates or the certifications or things like that that will allow them to get those jobs.
So where are they taking these classes, and do you work with all the school districts in Orange County?
So, so they are taking them primarily at the high schools or with the regional occupational programs, the ROPs. As you and I discussed, you said you came through the ROP program. A lot of people aren't aware of the ROPs, and then those that are tend to say RLP and CTE, they call them the same thing, CTE, Career Technical Education. So it depends on the RLP. It depends on the student. Some RLPs, the classes are taken at the RLP campus. Some are taken at the schools and they're managed or taught by ROP teachers. But primarily, they can either be during the regular class day or after school, and either at the high school or at the ROP.
At what point do you get access to the students to get into the program?
So what we do is we work with the administrators and also the teachers to introduce some of the programs that we run to students. And the programs that we're running are going to be over and above the actual ROP or CTE classes that they're taking. So for instance, we do a program called Manufacturing Month every year. Advanced manufacturing, many people don't realize it, but Orange County is the second largest manufacturing center in the United States. LA is second. And, we hear a lot about manufacturing jobs are going away, but it is a really big, important aspect of our economy. So every October is Manufacturing Month. We put together a Manufacturing Month virtual program the last 2 years. Prior to the pandemic, we did it in person. And we introduce students to businesses, the folks who work at those businesses, and say the CNC or other types of machines that are involved at those businesses, and help get them interested in those careers. And then they can go back to their school or back to the ROP and start taking those classes, and then continue on at the community college.
Explain more what a regional occupational program is.
So regional occupational programs work with the school districts to deliver career technical education or CTE classes. In Orange County, there are 4 of them. Coastline ROP, which has 5 school districts, North Orange County ROP, which also has 5 school districts, and then there's one that's run by the Orange County Department of Education called CTEP. It stands for Career Technical Education Partnership. That has, I believe, 3 school districts, and then the last one is CCA, or College and Career Advantage, and that is 2 school districts, which are Capo and Laguna Beach. So there are 15 high school districts in Orange County that belong to one of these 4 ROPs, and they work together to deliver the curriculum for career technical education.
And keep in mind, the careers that they're aiming for are those that are needed in the community.
Yes, absolutely. They're the ones that are needed in the community and by our broader economy. And a lot of times people will, I think historically CTE or career technical education pathways have been deemed less than. Or community college has been deemed or labeled as less than just junior college, just community college, just the plumber, just an automotive technician. And what a lot of people don't realize is that just how critical these are for all of us. All of our houses need people to manage or, to come in and fix the plumbing and the electrical and the HVAC. We all have cars that need to be fixed. We all buy products that are coming from advanced manufacturing. University Lab Partners is here in this building. They're a biotech company. Biotech matters to all of us. There are a lot of pathways that go into those. And so it is a critical aspect of our economy. CTE or career technical education pathways lead into what we call middle skills jobs, those jobs that can be earned without a 4-year degree, with a high school diploma or certificates or certifications or a community college or an associate's degree. That group of jobs makes up almost 40% of the jobs in Orange County.
So wouldn't you say it's advisable that high schools should encourage their students to explore potentially ROP so that at least they could find out if this is something they want to do or not do?
Yes, absolutely. Not just that. I mean, there is that aspect of it, right? We really, a lot of parents don't understand or know of all the jobs that are out there. One of the things that we hear very often is, oh, I didn't realize that was a job or that was a career, not just from students, but also from parents. Parents, a lot of times, they want their kids to make money, right? And so a lot of these jobs actually pay more than parents are aware of. So it's important, for students to learn about these career opportunities, especially those students who, let's face it, the 4-year path is not the perfect path for everyone. Right? My daughter is in a 4-year university. I went to a 4-year university. It worked for us, but it's not the only path, and we can't see it as the only path. Career technical education, community college, certificates, certifications, those paths, those need to be considered as well. The other thing I would say is CTE classes aren't just for students who are, who are going the community college or the middle skills path. Research has shown that even students on a 4-year track end up with higher GPAs, better persistence into college, and there are a lot of really positive factors that we see for all students who participate in CTE classes.
And explain why.
Because a lot of these classes tend to be more hands-on, right? And so, I was at during the biking fundraiser, which I think you're going to talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
But during the biking fundraiser, I went to every high school district. And in particular, I was at a high school here in Irvine, at Irvine High School, and I talked to a young woman who was taking an automotive technology class. And she said, "This is my favorite class." And one of the reasons why it was her favorite class was because it was so hands-on for her. I think a lot of times, if you're the type of person who wants, everybody learns differently. And if you're the type of person who wants to use your hands and learn with your hands, then that type of course will actually pull somebody in and keep them engaged in the education process and keep them, happy with where they are and help them find a direction when maybe they didn't have it before. And so, I always believe that students should explore as much as they possibly can. And I think what CTE does is those classes offer that for everyone. I wish that I had had more of that in my high school, but we didn't really, we didn't have that. We had wood shop and metal shop, but again, it was viewed as lesser.
Let's talk about the bike ride. 200 miles, explain.
So I am a cyclist. It is one of my passions. The other is Vitalink and the work that we do with students. And so I joined Vitalink just before the pandemic. Lucky me, 6 weeks in, the pandemic hit. And as a new president, it was, running around with our heads on fire. But Vitalink didn't have a signature fundraiser. And so we started talking and saying, what can we do? Let's do something that's unique. And so my management team and I were talking, and we came up with this idea of doing something that wasn't golf, that wasn't a gala, because every nonprofit does a golf outing or a gala. And I said, why don't I just ride to every high school in Orange County? Then I really looked at how many high schools there are. There's over 90. And I said, no way, that's not happening. What can we do, though? And so we decided between the regional occupational programs, the high school districts, and the community colleges, there are about 30 of those. So we said, let's split those up into 4 rides. And over 4 Fridays, I will ride to every single ROP, community college, and high school district in Orange County. And we started the outreach. And the high school districts primarily had us go to a single location so they could show us some of the amazing things that they were doing. And by the way, it is mind-blowing what's going on at our high schools. People they have no idea what is really going on out there. And so I did that over four Fridays, and it was a total of just over 200 miles, and again, about 30 stops, and we raised $20,000, and that $20,000 will go to scholarships for students, 10 scholarships for students to go to community college next year.
What was mind-blowing that you found at the high schools?
So, as I mentioned, I was at Irvine High School and I saw the automotive program, and it was really, the facility that they had was incredible. It looked almost bigger and better than, an automotive shop at a car dealership. They had 8 motors sitting out. They had smaller lawnmower motors so that they could work on those. They had 3 cars. They were the students were all sitting outside, completely like wrapped up in what they were watching. I went to one school, which I cannot mention it because they had this amazing program for sea life that is trying to be smuggled into the United States, coral that's being smuggled into the United States. And then they are housing that and raising it because I don't know if you know this or not, but coral smuggling is a big deal, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service actually captures that, and then they distribute it to these facilities. We have some high schools and other facilities in Orange County that actually take that coral, and then the students use it to learn how to raise coral and do other types of oceanic or oceanographic types of programs. I also went to Mission Viejo High School and saw their farm program. They introduced me to their show cows and to their show goats and to their horses. And they didn't have pigs there, but they normally have pigs. And it was just, most people don't realize that, that we have high schools in Orange County with actual farms there. Our students are learning these valuable skills.
So you're helping high school students move on with their career exploration. But what can parents do to help their children kind of figure out what they want to do so that when they get to middle school, maybe they could start a pathway that will then lead to high school so that they could be successful when they become adults?
Yeah, I think the key for parents is just to be engaged. As a parent of a college student, and I know you have one as well, and we talked a little bit about this. They don't hear us, right? I can tell them, what I want. I can try and push them in certain directions, and so parents do have a lot of influence. And so what they can do is try and guide or ask questions or make suggestions. Every high school, every school district website in Orange County has a part of it that is devoted to career technical education. So students should go look that up for their school districts. On there, they can find the pathways that exist at the schools, and they can learn more about it. They can also encourage their students to engage with their counselors at the school. The counselors, while the counselors have a heavy load, they are there for the students. And so, parents can encourage students to explore the pathways and talk to their counselors. And so I just think an informed parent is one that can help guide their student. And that parent piece is actually something that we're starting to focus on because we believe at VitalLink that it is a missing piece of the equation. And I know that some of the school districts and the Orange County Department of Education are focusing on that as well.
And you also offer academies. Explain
Yes.
that.
So during the summer, we work with community colleges and high school districts, and sometimes the ROPs as well, to build out these 1 week, 2 week, sometimes 3 or 4 day smaller academies, primarily in one of two areas. One area is just in college and career exploration. So we'll work with a local community college. We'll talk to the students about things like employability skills. We hear all the time from businesses, students aren't coming to us with the skills to start the jobs, right? I was just at a Circle K today. They had a great sign out front that said, you bring the right attitude and we'll teach you the skills. That's essentially what we're trying to do is to teach, the students critical thinking and decision-making, problem-solving, communication skills, those types of things. And then at the same time, help them understand where to find information about college and understand the application process and things like that. So that's one group. The other group will be more focused on cutting edge or leading edge types of technologies. It could be something from cybersecurity to drones. We did a data analytics academy last year. We also do a solar power academy in conjunction with SunPower Solar. So we will build out industry or technology specific academies as well, and typically those are either underwritten by a business or by a community college or a high school district.
But that means you have to be on top of what's coming up next.
Absolutely, it does, and we spend a lot of time. And I put a lot of resources for our staff to learning about those technologies. But the other thing is we bring in industry folks as well. So when we did a drone academy for middle school students at Santa Ana Unified.
I bet that was a lot of fun.
Oh, it was absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, it's in the flight path for
Oops.
John Wayne, so they couldn't do as much flying or as high as they would normally want to. But we brought in industry folks to say, hey, I'm in drones. This is how I got into drones. This is what I needed to learn. We talked to them about, the importance of getting your pilot's license, to be a drone pilot. And then what are the careers? Many people don't realize when they think about drones, they may think that it's used for, somebody who wants to take photographs and do something, on their own. Well, it's really important for energy, construction, and utilities. It's really important for a lot of our fire, police work. It's important for all the digital media arts. TV stations are using it. It is one of these technologies that covers many, many sectors. So we brought people in from a lot of the different sectors, and the students get to learn directly from them. As we talked about just a second ago, they're not going to listen to their parents. They're not going to listen to you and me, but you know what? Bring in an expert who's doing it on a day-to-day basis, and they will listen to them.
How are you funded?
So about right now, about 75% of our funding comes from what we call contract services or programs. And that primarily is coming to us from the community colleges, the regional occupational programs, and through the school districts. There is funding out there from the state for career technical education, and so that is the funding that comes through them to an organization like VitaLink. There are others out there that don't maybe work as broadly as we do, that do some types of work like this as well. The rest of it comes from donations and grants. So we have a grant writer and we apply for those, and then we get donations.
Thank you, VitaLink of Orange County President Brian Dozer, for being on Impact OC. And I thank everyone for tuning in. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Dawn Camber. Have an impactful day.
You've been listening to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping our community. Right here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio.